The simple act of flicking a cigarette butt out of your window that could result in a runaway fire. It's part of the caution from the group working on fire, which has spent years raising community awareness about fire safety. Firefighters are this hour, right now, creating fire breaks around hotspots to prevent the spread of runaway fires, the majority of which, they tell us, are man-made. Our reporter Karinda Jagmohan is live with this initiative. Was speaking earlier to working on fire. Karinda, where are you now? And just share with us again what the aftermath of this picture of those devastating fires from last week have been.
Certainly, Iman, we're on the border of the Umsunduzi and Umgeni local municipalities where firefighters from various departments are essentially conducting fire breaks. So this fire you see here is intentional, and it started about half an hour ago where first firefighters came here. They conducted a risk assessment, then they marked off the road so everybody around the area knows that this fire is happening for a reason, because it's protecting the large forest landscape behind it. Like you mentioned, a simple cigarette butt flicked out of your window as you're driving up to work can create this fire, this exact scene. So they're trying to do it now in a protective manner, and so if it happens again, the forestry is actually protected. But just to speak more about this, I'm going to bring in Mama Kosi Dladla back into the picture. And Ma, if you can just please tell us about the fire breaks. You mentioned that community members conduct this by themselves without alerting authorities. So just tell me about the risks with this.
Kuyingozi kakhulu ukwenza amabhande kwama community bewenza bona kungekho umuntu owaziyo no training ukwenza lana nje ubona ama firefighters ethu work on fire akuwona nje ukwenza ama fire break kuphela, but siqala siba train eqala ukuthi uma bezokwenza fire break kumele bakwazi ukuhlonza ubungozi abangabuthola kule ndawo bazokuyenza ama fire breaks, babheka umoya ukuthi ungakanani nespeed usingakanani bese beyakwazi ukuthi benze ama fire break. Njengoba ubona benza ama fire breaks bagqoke even ngisho impahla ezibavikelayo ukuthi bangasheshi bashe. Ingezinye zeindlela esizisebenzisayo ukuqinisekisa ukuthi sivikele indawo umlilo ongaqhamuka nje kungazelele umuntu ungafiki. And uma kunomlilo ofikayo amabhanda njengalawo enziwa namhlanje ayasiza umlilo ungakwazi ukweqela endaweni njengamahlathi bese uyashisa ugcina usufinyelela endaweni enkulu kakhulu. Work on fire ke ukuthatha ukubeke phezulu ukuqeqeshwa kwama firefighter nokuqinisekisa ukuthi bayaqonda futhi bayakwazi ukwenza amabhande ngaphandle kokuthi kube khona ingozi engenzeka.
Thank you so much for that background. Just also to go back to with regards to the fire break, thank you, is with regards to how this is being conducted, because in some cases, and we have been speaking about how these runaway fires are man-made disaster because it starts under various circumstances. Some poachers trying to set fire to fields to, chase away the animals, set their dogs on the animals for their hunting exercises. Some in search of honey, setting beehives alight and leaving that fire to spread in this manner. And that is why right now, while most of the runaway fires have somewhat been stabilized, these fires are actually intentional. My colleague and I will actually just take you a little bit closer to show you the work of the firefighters. The road is clear, so you can quickly cross and just show you how they actually conduct this exercise. Iman, it's actually a number of firefighters. It's happening on both sides of this road. The road itself is not cordoned off, but there are officers just cautioning about this, and all the authorities are aware. There's basically days called red days. These are days when you cannot do this because the wind is quite strong, it's quite hot, and essentially you need to get a burn number to say that you are conducting these fire breaks. So on one side you see the firefighters there in the distance, and they are basically putting out this fire from where it starts going along. So on the other side there's someone actually starting this fire to burn and really create a ring, a fire, a barrier, or a ring of safety around this large forestry area you can see. If someone were to flick that cigarette butt out their window, this entire forest could catch alight if it's not doused on time. So that is why these exercises are happening. And it's happening right now because much of the runaway fires have been stabilized, so they have the capacity to do that. But again, just to show you, right now this is what authorities have to do, and it has to be done now on a regular basis. We're told this is just the start of the fire season. As the winds pick up in August and into September, when we might see the worst of it, we're going to see the worst of these fires essentially. And so that is why there's also an education initiative to teach people about using fire with caution, using gas with caution as well, and how to put out these different fires. In some cases, actually, you're not supposed to use water, you're supposed to smother the flames. But in other cases, you can use water and you can use various instruments. The main message coming from working on fires for residents to actually not try to put out these fires yourself. Look at the firefighters here. They're engulfed in smoke. You can barely breathe. And they go through training exercises where often they have to stand in the smoke for a quite long period of time to become used to, the impact of this. And so for a resident who might see these flames encroaching towards their property, in that panic might trip and fall or not be able to actually focus with the smoke all around them, not be able to see. And so one of the main messages is to actually take your belongings and actually move away. Call someone who actually has the skills to do what you're seeing happening behind me. Later on, we understand, or actually around this hour, the Premier of the province, Tami Ntuli, will provide a media briefing back in Durban about the state of what's happening with regards to these fires, the disaster management capacity as well. We've heard fire chiefs from various municipalities speak about the fact that they might be resourced, but to the minimum requirements and not to perhaps the larger capacity that we need to see at a time like this with natural disasters as well. So you see the large flames on this side, and on this side it's dissipated somewhat, and that is the practice. It'll happen just around this area. And so various questions to be raised as we see more natural disasters. And then later on, we expect the Premier to come here and possibly visit some of the families of the firefighters who risked their lives, who passed away while fighting these blazes.
Karinda Jagmohan, thank you very much. And again, really useful information being shared on how the community should respond when dealing with the threat of fire.